Perhaps we'll get some drama as well. Jim, if you like your steak raw and your potatoes mashed, this is your kind of night.
Indeed. The heavyweight champion of the world likes Yorkshire pudding, of course, being an Englishman. And working with us as our expert commentator on Boxing After Dark is the man who trains heavyweight titleist Lennox Lewis, the legendary manager and trainer out of Detroit, Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel, looking at the four guys we're about to watch in the ring, does one of them intrigue you as a potential future challenger to Lennox?
Well, the one that intrigues me the most, Jim, is Derek Jefferson, because of his explosiveness and his style, and the fact that he's never really been beaten, so to say, in his own mind by anyone. He went undefeated in 21 amateur fights and only lost one professional fight, and that was a fight where he really beat himself. So I think he's the most intriguing to me.
And we'll see Jefferson later on in the main event when he takes on Oleg Moskayev. It could be a tremendous matchup in terms of action because both fighters hit and get hit. But meanwhile, let's take a look at Hasim the Rock Rahman, who thinks of himself as a potential #1 challenger. And indeed, if he had won every fight in which he was leading comfortably on the scorecards, this would be an unbeaten heavyweight. Instead, he's lost twice.
Just a year and a half ago, he was fighting for a mandatory spot to fight the heavyweight champion. Now he's fighting for survival.
Ahead on the cards when he was knocked out by David Tua. Ahead on the cards last November when he was knocked out here in Atlantic City by Oleg Moskayev. Here's a closer look at Hasim Rahman.
Has he lost because of stamina problems himself? He's lost both of those fights in late rounds. To get away from that syndrome, he's muscled up with some weightlifting, added 7 or 8 hard pounds, but will it do him any real good? Some of the people in his team don't think so. He has said if he cannot beat Corrie Sanders, he will never fight again because that will tell him that he can't be a champion.
In July in London, Lennox Lewis is scheduled to defend the heavyweight title against Frans Botha of South Africa. So does that mean that Botha is the best South African heavyweight? Probably not.
Heavyweight in the very first round in his last fight.
And while you're watching both of our fights tonight, you can log on to hbo.com/boxing, where you'll be able to score each round, spend some time chatting with former heavyweight contender Michael Bent, and answer the question, who in your mind can beat Lennox Lewis? We list 4 choices for you on the website: Tua, Tyson, Vladimir Klitschko, the younger brother, Roy Jones, or another choice open to you is none of the above. Or you can write in whichever heavyweight you think would be capable of beating Lennox Lewis. We'll tally up the results. Meanwhile, tail of the tape for Corrie Sanders against Hasim Rahman. And you can see that the clock is ticking on Sanders' career at age 34. Rahman still by far the fresher face of the two at 27. 1.5 height advantage for Sanders. Reach advantage of 2 pounds, or 2 inches. Plus, he's that rarity, a heavyweight southpaw. And you may remember only one southpaw has ever won the heavyweight championship. That was Michael Moorer. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
introduction. The Corrie Sanders Hasim Rahman fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules on your screen in addition to the 10-point majority scoring system of Commissioner Larry Hazzard. Jim, big controversy at the rules meeting yesterday. Hasim Rahman chose Reyes gloves. Corrie Sanders refused to fight with Reyes gloves. Promoter Cedric Kushner had to go to Kansas City to bring in ringside gloves. So Sanders wears ringside 10-ounce. Rahman wears Reyes 10-ounce. Jim.
Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Bally's Park Place Casino Resort here on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where tonight Cedric Kushner Promotions presents his heavyweight explosion on HBO Boxing After Dark. Presented in association with your undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser. Proud to be your bud. Sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazzard Sr. This first bout is brought to you in association also with Golden Gloves of South Africa. The three judges assigned to ringside scoring the bout will be Glenn Feldman, Eugene Grant, and John Potteray. And when the bell rings, the referee in charge of the action, Ed Cotton. And now from Bally's Park Place of Atlantic City, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBU World Heavyweight Championship. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trimmed with silver, his weight 245 pounds, and he stands 6 feet 2 and 1/2 inches tall. His professional record, 32 victories, including 26 knockouts with only 2 losses. From Baltimore, Maryland, ladies and gentlemen, here is the challenger, Hasim the Rahman. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing white and weighing in at 225 pounds. He stands 6 feet 4 inches tall. He brings a professional record consisting of 37 bouts, with 36 victories, including 26 knockouts and only 1 defeat. Ladies and gentlemen, from Pretoria in the New South Africa, making his 4th title defense, presenting the reigning and defending WBU World Heavyweight Champion, Corrie Sanders.
All right, boxers, you both received your instructions in the dressing room. Obey my commands, protect yourself a good time. Let's touch gloves, have a good clean fight.
Jim, I don't know anybody who even thinks they know what's going to happen in these fights tonight. We're just going to have to wait a few seconds more.
Yeah, you're right. There are any number of scenarios you can pick for this fight. Now, Sanders, after having knocked out Al Cole in the first minute and a half of his last fight on February 19th, and with all that inactivity, I expect him to try to start fast, Emmanuel.
Well, I definitely think that Sanders is the most skillful and faster between the 2 fighters. The thing is, a lot of guys who are used to fighting in their hometown, home countries, become a little bit unorganized and uncomfortable when they fight in different settings, such as him fight here instead of fighting in South Africa. The fight's going to be interesting in more reasons than one. First of all, I don't like the extra weight that Hasim has picked up. I think it's not that good for him at his height. And if that be the case, I think the speed factor could be a big factor for him.
That's nothing.
And Randy Cotton ruling a slip.
Yeah.
Corrie Sanders went down early.
But I think Corrie is a very good technical fighter. There's a lot of speed. And if he feels very comfortable and relaxed in this setting right here, he could be very difficult for Hasim.
Of course, as you see, Sanders is a southpaw, and you've seen Rahman starting out trying to mount his attack behind the right-hand lead. That's a change for him. In the past, Rahman has been effective working off the jab. Now he backs Sanders into a corner and tries his hand at infighting.
Well, the fact that Sanders is permitted to fight inside, but he seems to have been in control of everything. I just think the hand speed of Sanders is going to be a big factor.
Sanders lands a short left hand, seems to wobble Rahman a bit. Rahman fighting out of the corner. Corrie Sanders with his hands down, very relaxed in the early going against Hasim Rahman.
You know, we must remember that Rahman's last two major fights, he lost by knockout, and they were really some powerful knockouts. He was hurt very seriously with Turo, and also the fight when he fought when he was knocked out by Oleg Moscow. So, I don't know what effect that may have on him in addition to the extra weight.
Yeah, he got launched by a right hand and came all the way through the ring ropes and landed on his head on concrete. You wonder, just the psychological hangover from that experience is a question mark.
Could be a big factor.
Rahman trying the 1-2 there. Sanders easily blocking the jab with his right hand. Rahman's going to have to resist the natural instinct to work off the left jab constantly against Sanders. There he goes to the left hook to the body, and Sanders fires a counter in return.
Sanders' speed seems to be a big factor in this fight at this point in time. And I think the fact that Rahman seemed to have slowed down even more so. I think the weight that he's gained, which he gained primarily from what I understand from lifted weights, is not healthy that much for his height.
Sanders looks a little softer around the belly, particularly compared to Rahman, but there's a hard left hand, and obviously softness around the belly does nothing to slow Corrie Sanders. Remarkable hand speed for such a big man.
Here, stuck it in. Now you got the little first round jitteries out, you know what I mean? Start jabbing them twice. Hands up when you jab. How you feel? Good, good, good. He's only trying to steer you on shots, that's all. Shut your mouth. Okay.
The left hand followed by that right hand by Rahman.
Copy box numbers in round number 1. Sanders 15 out of 60. Rahman 15 out of 46. Most of the connections were power punches. In previous fights we watched on tape, Corrie Sanders' corner, trainer Harold Volbrecht spoke to him in English. Thus, no Afrikaans interpreter. We were taken by surprise when they spoke Afrikaans in the corner at the end of round 1.
Rahman has been primarily known throughout his career mostly as a right-hand puncher, which is good when you're fighting a southpaw, particularly because that's your best punch. And if he can land his right hand, he can possibly turn the fight around. But the fact that neither one of them are really effectively working with their jabs too much, that are landing, they're just using it as more of a pawing type punch, which means that the speed element is going to be a big factor for Sanders, and the power punch, I think, primarily is going to be going for Rahman. And it's interesting, too, that Rahman has been busier professional than Sanders, which, looking at his record, is really interesting that he has been very inactive. But the amateur career of Sanders was so much more extensive than that of Rahman, which, to my knowledge, didn't have much of an amateur career.
And there you see the action as Rahman landed a big right-hand counter after Sanders landed a left hand. Now Sanders trying to fire his left hand through Rahman's guard, and they trade punches in the corner. Corrie Sanders looking to hit a double or a triple, or maybe even a home run.
Okay. This is turning out to be a girl fight here. Both guys are getting hit.
I think Sanders thinks he has Rahman in trouble.
Well, I think the fact that Rahman is laying in the ropes and going into a defensive mode is pretty much luring Sanders into believing that he hasn't hurt. But the biggest thing is to me still is the speed and the extra weight that Rahman has picked up, which I don't think is going to help him.
And you saw Rahman overcommit on a right hand, and Sanders was able to pop him with a quick left. That drove Rahman back into the ropes. Rahman is having to reach from way back with the right hand, and Corrie Sanders is stepping up inside and taking advantage of those counter opportunities.
Yes, he is. And at this stage here,
there it was again.
Sanders is slowed down his footwork, and his speed is up from his hands, but not from his foot anymore. And as a result, I think this fight's going to turn out to be a slugfest.
Well, if Rahman overcommits to one more right hand and Sanders can time the left-right, we'll find out if Rock can take his punch.
Stop punch.
trouble. Sanders pounding the left hand through the guard. Rahman wobbles back into the corner. Round 2's about to come to a close. Not a second too soon for Hasim Rahman.
This is turning out to be an exciting heavyweight fight.
Rahman's new trainer, Adrian Davis, hurling him into the corner.
Kick your legs out. Kick your leg back. Give me some water. Give me the grease. Suck it in. And this run your box up, okay? You keep your hands up. You can only hit you when your hands down. Suck it in.
Put your hands down.
Suck it in. Give me some.
Give me the water. Give me the mouthpiece.
Beautiful.
When you concentrate me, Corrie, okay? You hit him when he bag. That's fun. Hold the concentrate.
Rahman impressively came back from a short left hook with a right hand there. He is still rather fresh. Remember that when he suffered the knockouts, it was in late rounds where his stamina had been tested. But we're looking at Corrie Sanders here, who loves to go big game hunting in South Africa, and he is going big game hunting right here in Atlantic City tonight.
Wouldn't it be fascinating to see Rahman fall behind early and win a fight by outlasting his opponent, as appears might have to be the case here. In round 2, Corrie Sanders was able to get off 76 punches to only 48 for Hasim Rahman. So Sanders has been the more active fighter in the first 2 rounds.
And also, if you notice, at the conclusion of a punch, whenever Rahman throws a punch, if he misses it, he falls off balance. Very much because of the excessive weight, I think. And Sanders seems to be a little bit sharp and more crispier with his footwork.
Now Sanders appears to be trying to get a little bit of rest in the first minute of round 3, having thrown nearly 140 punches in the first 2 rounds. And Rahman has a chance to take advantage, and does with a right-hand lead.
Rahman is gambling everything on his right-hand lead, because that's his breadwinner. It has been throughout his career, but particularly in this fight here. He's not concentrating on his left hook or his jab at all. He's depending entirely on one right hand.
This is a power punch fight, folks. It's going to be Hasim Rahman's right hand against Corrie Sanders' left hand, and somebody's going to win this fight off their back foot.
And I think it's going to be pretty certain, too.
Body shot by Rahman.
It seems that Sanders is relaxed, and he's only watching Rahman's right hand. If Rahman would come back with a left hook, I think he would have a lot more going for him. But Sanders is watching only the right hand of Rahman right now. And I think what he's really dependent on is making Rahman miss a right hand and then trying to counter with the left.
Neither man has gone to the body much. Rahman is obviously thinking about it in this round. Some body punching now.
Oh,
set up
that was it. He made it miss the left, right hand, and they countered with the left.
Absolutely. He timed it right that time. So there's the first knockdown of the fight as Rahman goes down and complains to referee Eddie Cotton that it shouldn't have been ruled a knockdown.
And he is wrong, of course, because the ropes held him up.
It was an explosive left hand off the missed right. Now Sanders tries to finish up with 30 seconds to go in the round and goes down himself on a counter right hand.
Yeah.
4, 5.
I think he's stunned as much as being hurt, because he didn't see the punch. He was in the process of trying to finish off Rahman.
I don't know when I've seen a fighter walk to his corner and go down to his knee to rest. Bell sounded too early. Round hasn't ended. Oh, that wasn't the official bell. Somebody else sounded a bell of some sort. Well, that was confusing, but the fighters got through it okay, and what a round.
Pretty much as we expected.
You know you're through, you just let it go. Just let it go.
Breathe good.
Now once you get your win, suck it in. This guy ain't got it. Soon you hit the hand, you're going to go. Come on, suck it in. Give him some work on the back of his head. Come on.
Corrie, moenie met hom gaan staan en stryd nie, asseblief.
As you keep turning him, stay away from his right hand.
Relax, box hom vinnige jab. You see that?
That's the left right there, coming in, perfectly timed left hook by Sanders, and the ropes clearly holding him up.
Sanders getting cocky here, trying to finish it. Leaves himself open. Rahman, to his credit, saw it and shot his right through.
So both men were down in the third. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, you wonder if Sanders has used himself up because of all his activity. He looks a little bit wobbly right at this moment.
And you wonder if Sanders suffers from ring rust at this point. All the years of inactivity, so many short fights. And now he catches Rahman again with the left. And Rahman tries to catch him with the right. This is just going to be an old-fashioned slugfest from here on in. And they almost both went down.
Yeah, but when Rahman held on to the ropes to break his fall.
Sanders looking confused now as he looks at his corner to Harold Bolbrecht. Long way to go in this round. Corrie Sanders' hands are down. He may be done in.
Rahman is looking for the big right hand. And every time he throws a right hand, Sanders tries to counter with his left. And when Sanders gets caught, it's when he's going in, being aggressive. He never gets hit too much when he's in a counter-punching mode.
Sanders with one more glance over to his corner as though there's something that Bolbrecht can tell him that'll help him out of this mess. Sanders has been down twice. Rahman's been down once.
Well, they've seen a lot of stuff on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. I don't know the last time they saw something like this.
I know. Derek Jefferson against Maurice Harris last November 6th. Same kind of fight. Boxing after dark, heavyweight fireworks. Sanders looks like he's in another world, but Rahman hasn't been able to take advantage in the last minute.
Rahman is looking to throw his right hand and try to hit it, and Sanders is trying to make him throw the right hand and trying to counter with the left. There it is again. Every time he makes him throw the right, he tries to counter.
One body shot, two body shots, three body shots. One of them was low. Sanders looks utterly done in. Loses his footwork for a moment.
Sanders has made it known that his second biggest love is golf, and it might become his biggest love after this because it's totally just the opposite of what he's in tonight.
They trade shots again.
Blood coming from both of their noses in this fight. Why not?
Corrie Sanders beginning to get his legs back from the knockdown early in the round. But Hasim Rahman was never able to find the right finishing opportunity for 2 minutes there while Sanders wandered around in a daze.
If Rahman would use his jab a little bit more effective, I think he would do a lot better. It would set up better for his right hand.
Wild left hand misses by Sanders, and they'll go to another round.
Sponge out a little bit.
Corrie, spoeg je zijn. Kijk, die kan hij daar. Zelfde. Doe nog één.
He's nothing. The boy's being kind. You got him back up. Back up with what? Okay, let's do this. One strong jab.
We almost had
jab and then a right hand.
a double knockdown in that round. Just watch as Rahman throws the right hand, catches him, but held himself up with that left hand, which was fortunate because it gave him a 2-point round.
I thought that's what might happen in the second fight tonight. I actually said in one of our pre-fight promos on the air that Moskaev and Jefferson might knock each other out. Instead, it was Rahman and Sanders who almost pulled that off. Corrie Sanders threw 70 punches around in the first 2 rounds of this fight. In the last round, by CompuBox numbers, he threw 38. So Sanders has lost his activity level and is now just looking for a one-punch knockout of Rahman. Harold, how do you have it through 4?
Huckage, an interesting scoring. Actually, in rounds 2-1 Corrie Sanders, but in points it's all even. The first 2 rounds, like you said, Corrie Sanders wins 10-9. The third round, they each scored a knockdown. You really have to score it even, 10-10. And the fourth round, Rock wins 10-8 because of the clean knockdown. 38-38 even.
I think Rahman's got a chance to win a boxing match if he can pull his act together and just go from here, working with the right hand.
Well, it's clear that Sanders is trying to get his second or third win here, and Rahman doesn't seem capable of putting the pressure on him.
Yeah. At this stage right here, Rahman should really step up the pressure a lot more.
How do you explain what Rahman did in the last 2 minutes of the preceding round and here?
Well, basically, it's a gambling fight, the way that they're fighting. They're both just gambling. One is shooting the right hand lead, and the other one's waiting to counter punch over the right. But if you notice, Sanders threw a few pesky right jabs that seem to have been effective, but if he doesn't continue to do that, Rahman is going to keep walking straight into him. He needs to keep working his right jab a little bit more to keep him at a distance right there and to set him up for his left. But Rahman seems to have gotten his confidence back together, seems to be very comfortable in the setting right now. But what bothers me is the fact that he's doing the same thing over and over, strictly trying to throw a right hand.
Round 5 is a totally arm-weary round for both fighters. Neither man has landed anything of significance here. Pesky jabs, as you called them, Emmanuel. The best that Corrie Sanders can offer. He's waiting for Rahman to throw another right hand, getting ready to drop the left on him, and Rahman's looking for the spot to throw the right hand. Round 1's action, and for the moment, they're not going to get it.
A fan who loses this fight ought to be throttled. They've earned a break.
That was a good jab by Rahman.
Well, call it the 5th inning stretch, if you like. Tune in July 17 as HBO Sports presents our next Sports of the 20th Century documentary, When It Was a Game 3. Once again in our award-winning series, viewers will be taken back to an era when fans had special bonds with their heroes. The 1960s were a time of turbulent change, but throughout the decade, names like Clemente, Gibson, Mays, Mantle, and Aaron still meant greatness. When It Was a Game 3, with its exclusive home movies premiering in July on HBO.
You doing this now. Back him up, fade him back. And look, every time something ain't right, put the hands up.
I breathe in good, man.
He's loafing the wall. Hasim, that's just... Don't make a move. You make me get this grease now. Don't move. All right. You're tight on. Let's go.
Round 5, totally unlike any of its predecessors. All of the 4 preceding rounds dominated by power punches. In round 5, Rahman threw 21 jabs and landed 8. And Sanders also connected on 9 jabs. So both fighters got whatever offense they got in the 5th round from the jab, and it was precious little. Let's see who gets the second win first.
Both guys seem to be mentally alert, though, and seem to be trying to sort things out, so to say. I think the jab is becoming more of a factor as the fight is moving on. And once again, maybe they're rested up, they're ready to resume where they left off a couple of rounds ago.
Rahman lands a straight left hand. Sanders looks fresh enough to counter with the left. Rahman is more effective when they get inside. And this time Sanders takes the right hand lead flush on the jaw.
Sanders got a pretty good, he's been hit with some good right hand. I think the knockdowns when he got knocked down was mainly when he was in the process of punching and wasn't expecting punches at the time. But he seemed to have a pretty good chin. But the fight is up for grabs. Whoever could mount a good aggressive attack, particularly behind a jab right now, could take control of the fight. Same again.
Another counter left hand by Sanders. Sanders getting more and more pesky with that jab now, trying to set up his left hand, and he lands two more left crosses on Rahman. Misses the third.
Sanders has a tendency to get square with his balance once he gets into an exchange.
Go to which corner? Whose mouthpiece? You got the mouthpiece?
Hasim Rahman losing the mouthpiece. It's right in front of New Jersey State Athletic Commission Chairman Larry Hazard.
Sanders lost
Sanders' mouthpiece, yeah, okay.
Rahman has one of those clear mouthpieces, which looks like it's nothing in his mouth, but it's a clear mouthpiece.
You heard Eddie Cotton asking Rahman if it was his mouthpiece, and you're right. Turns out to be Sanders' mouthpiece instead.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Rahman going to the body with the right hand. I like that idea. This fight, incidentally, is scheduled for 12 rounds because Corrie Sanders owns an off-brand heavyweight title belt.
Let's go. Get out.
It's not even an off-brand. It's not even an off-brand. Hard right hand by Rahman. Sanders is taking that punch now.
Stop punching. Stop punching. Step back.
Both guys, strange enough, seem to have rejuvenated themselves, at least mentally. I'm looking at both of them's eyes. They seem to be very clear. They're very much aware of everything that's going on.
Stop punching.
And the biggest problem I see that Sanders has is his balance. After he throws a punch, he often finds himself squared with his feet, so therefore he gets knocked down very easily.
I don't see his hand speed anymore, Emmanuel.
No more hand speed. But nevertheless, the pesky jab of his is still beginning to be a big factor, particularly if he keeps it up.
That was a big round for Rahman. And still to come, the other heavyweight battle, the one we thought would really provide the fireworks, and maybe it will. Derek Jefferson against Oleg Maskev. Maskev, last November, was trailing Rahman on all cards when he knocked him through the ropes here in Atlantic City.
Yeah, spin it around, suck it in deep. Get your hands down, Rocky. Relax, baby. He's running from you, Rock. Can't you see it? Press it, look, left foot. Keep backing back with the hands up. Do like this. You can't get nothing. And you jam.
All right. Just step it up a notch.
All right, there you see in the back of the arena here is Corrie Sanders' wife, their 3-year-old daughter, who is celebrating her 3rd birthday tonight. A few rounds ago, they were sitting ringside, but Mrs. Sanders decided that this may not be the kind of thing her daughter would want to see.
Good choice. Interesting fight halfway through. Harold Letterman's card even. CompuBox numbers fairly even. Sanders 110 out of 302. Rahman 113 out of 277. Rahman landing slightly fewer power punches. Sanders uses the jab more than Rahman does.
When they both exchange their power punches at the same time, meaning Rahman throws a right hand, Sanders throws a left, Rahman seems to have the advantage. He seems to get his right hand in a little bit faster. But when Sanders is effective is after he lets Rahman miss. But when they shoot at the same time, Rahman seems to come in a little bit better. His punch seems to be a little bit more to the inside. But the big difference would be still if Rahman would use his left jab a lot more.
Sanders also seems to be strictly a head puncher.
That's correct.
He doesn't work to the body at all.
Doesn't punch to the body at all.
And Oleg Maskev was saying to us yesterday that he felt the importance of working in American gyms was that you learn the left hook and you learn to use body punches.
And you learn to use body punches. In most of the countries, even though South Africa is not Europe, they still primarily concentrate on head punches.
Straight right hand by Rahman, right on the button. And a right, and a left, and a big rally. And Sanders tries to hold on. And Rahman's just pounding away. Sanders covering up. Rahman's just punching. Eddie Cotton looking in.
What's Sanders?
Eddie Cotton's going to stop it. Corrie Sanders not defending himself.
And that's
Hasim Rahman punches him right out of the division.
Punched him right out. He should have grabbed the man and tied him up. When you're hurt like that, grab the thing that's punching and beating you up. Grab the arms and tie the arms up.
Well, but but he was hit by about 15 to 17 straight punches.
Unanswered.
And early on, he seemed dazed, just trying to survive the onslaught, but not doing anything to get out of the way.
Well, the referee had no choice. When you're getting hit that much and you're not returning any punches, he has to stop the fight.
Gentlemen, it appeared that once Corrie Sanders was unable to get the early knockout against Hasim Rahman, it became a matter of time and whether Rahman would destroy himself or take advantage of the opportunity in front of him. Instead, he took advantage.
He took advantage of it, and in fact, he fought as if he wanted to win a little bit more than Sanders going down the stretch. The fight was up in there.
33 wins now against only 2 losses for Rahman. He takes a big step toward reviving his status as a contender in the division. And Corrie Sanders, in all likelihood, will go back to South Africa without ever getting a shot at one of the top heavyweights of his time, Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield. Sanders will console himself with having won a minor league title and having had a big record, particularly when fighting at home in South Africa. And here's another replay, and Emmanuel, Sanders just never tried to hold on.
No, he never tried to hold on. You know, and when you're hurt like that, you can't see punches that good. The best thing to do is to grab the guy and grab the arms that's beating on you. But in his case, probably not experienced at being hurt like that before. He didn't know what to do because originally he wasn't hurt to the degree where he could not have survived properly. But right now, at this point in time, when you're hurt like that, even punches that's landing on the side of your head on the gloves, they still vibrate through and they cause a lot of damage.
Sanders' only previous loss was a knockout by Nate Tubbs way back in 1994. It's been 6 years since he lost a fight. Almost 6 years to the day, in fact, because that was May 21 of 94. This loss probably seals his fate as a marginal heavyweight contender who was discussed in relation to a lot of big fights and written about in relation to a lot of big fights through the 90s, but never really got there.
Yes, well, I think right now at this point in time in his career, he'll have to be resigned to the fact that he was a WBU champion and have to accept that, and that's going to be his biggest claim to fame.
And maybe he can get that handicap back down to 2. There's his wife and daughter. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on the knockout.
Ladies and gentlemen, Part 1 of the Cedric Kushner heavyweight explosion on HBO Boxing After Dark comes to an end at 1 minute, 50 seconds of round number 7. The winner by knockout victory and new WBU World Heavyweight Champion, Hasim "The Rock" Rahman.
Okay, we gotta go right over HBO, right now. Right over the wall. Come on behind you. Come on. What happened to that?
Final punch stat numbers. Hasim Rahman said that if he couldn't beat Corrie Sanders, he would give up trying to become heavyweight champion of the world. So Rahman will continue his pursuit of a potential title, landing 150 total punches to 118 for Sanders, throwing more, connecting at a higher percentage, rallying in the last couple of rounds of the fight, and eventually putting Sanders away after Sanders seemingly totally ran out of petrol. And power punches, as I said, Sanders is the only man who threw jabs, and Rahman landed 37 punches to only 8 for Sanders in that last round. So the numbers bulged as the result of the Rahman rally. Larry Merchant standing by with the winner.
All right, thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Merchant.
You had a rocky beginning to this fight. How did you fight your way out of it?
Well, that's smooth sailing from the end of my last fight. What are you talking about, Rocky? First of all, I'd like to say Allahu Akbar. God is the greatest. No, there's no strength, no power except with God. And God gave me the strength to do that. And I love you, Hasim Jr. and Sharif in the mirror. All right, go ahead.
All right. You said before the fight that if you couldn't beat Corrie Sanders, it meant you would never put on the gloves again.
Absolutely meant it.
And was that the intense motivation you had in there, even while you were getting strafed by him in the first couple of rounds?
I felt like I was giving as good as I was taking. He would land one, but he wasn't landing combinations. You understand? Because I kept my head moving a little better. And I would also stun him occasionally with a good shot and make him back up and retreat. The man comes all the way over here. He talked trash to me yesterday. at the glove meeting, telling me he's the champion. I wear what gloves he wear, and, you know, he made it a little personal, a little more personal than it had to be. So he had to get dealt with.
So we will see you again in the ring.
Well, most definitely, I'd like to fight the winner of this next upcoming fight. I'm J.R. Jefferson, my man, but if he give her the mask he have, me and Jefferson got to get it on.
All right, thank you very much.
Make that fight, Merchant.
Congratulations, Rock. I wish I had the power to do so. Jim?
All right, Rahman doing a little matchmaking there in the ring. The judges saw it all the same way. Rahman was leading 58-55 on the master scorecard at the time of the knockout. Emmanuel, the big question coming into the fight was, could Rock